Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Ryan Abbott with me here today. Ryan is the president of the Southwest region of Clayco, including subsidiaries of Concrete Strategies, Lamar Johnson Collaborative, and Clayco Design and Engineering. He's a modern construction leader, national lecturer and educator on the integrated project delivery methods, and has had his work published both locally and nationally in many industry-leading periodicals. He's the recipient of many awards for design and construction excellence and is named among the top of his field for his extensive professional accomplishments and active role in the industry and community. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks, Tim. That sounded like a mouthful there.
Oh, there's more. I could have gone on. There's a lot of great stuff there, Ryan. Thank you for being here today. Can we start by you giving us a snapshot of what your 2025 is looking like, what the business is doing?
Yeah, we if it's forward facing and it's in the built environment, we're doing it right now. We're rare in that we're a fully integrated design builder. What I mean by that is we have the ability of toggling on multiple of our services, so we can do one of these things or we can do many of these things. But we do everything from help source land for our clients to put together development packages, meaning we source the capital from other places in order to get facilities built for them, to doing the design, the master planning, the engineering, the process engineering, and then ultimately the build. So we can go and source the products directly and bring those products to a project. Hire subcontractors in order to place those products. We also self-perform concrete, glazing, and we set equipment or technical equipment for our clients. So we do a lot of things in the built environment. And when you take all of that and sort of play it into what 2025 is going to be, it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's a lot. And can you speak a little bit to the geographical regions you work in?
Yeah, I tend to focus on a couple of things. It's a little matrixed in that if it's microelectronics or something that uses a lot of energy or resources like water or needs water treatment, I work nationally. From an operational footprint, it's about a 300-mile circle around Phoenix is probably the easiest way to explain it.
Okay. And Phoenix is booming. Is there a particular niche in the Phoenix market that you focus on? You mentioned energy.
It's a pretty broad portfolio. If I broke it down for you, about 48 cents of every dollar is in the data center environment today.
Okay.
That's much different than it was in 2021. 21,
sure.
much more industrial e-commerce distribution space.
Right.
We had to make a pretty quick pivot there. After that, the next biggest segment is manufacturing. So that's about 35 cents of every dollar we do is in that manufacturing environment. And that's everything from consumer products for things that you've got in your kitchen right now to beverages you consume on the weekend, to products that go inside of other products. Then right after that, in the manufacturing category, microelectronics has been something that we've been doing quite a bit of lately. And then energy creation and energy storage. And then the last big piece of the portfolio, although there's a couple more, is high-rise residential. So type 1, meaning built out of concrete, non-combustible concrete frames. We've got 5 of those going right now in the Phoenix area.
Okay, nice. There's not a lot of those type of construction starting right now based off of rates, but I think you guys are in a good niche and you have a lot of experience and you're continuing to grow during this time, which I think speaks a lot to your company. And I'd also like to ask if your data centers and your energy focus and stuff have any overlap at all.
They do in that both of those sectors use a tremendous workforce in order to deliver them, and they use a specialized expertise. Okay. And then thirdly, they use a pretty robust supply chain of highly rare and long lead components in order to do them. And so if you kind of take the Venn diagram, all of those things overlapping, you end up with that product type in the middle. If I gave you a statistic on the labor side, this year we employed about 7 million hours. So just under 7 million hours. So, responsibility there. That's almost 3,500 full-time employees, both ours and our subcontractors and vendors.
Okay.
If you think of that as how many mouths we're feeding, in a typical family, it's somewhere around 14,000 people that are counting on us every day.
Nice.
Right? And that's not including the people that are going to live in the facilities we're building or type into ChatGPT, or the question that they're asking and have it come out of one of our data centers.
Right.
If I gave you on the sourcing and the supply chain, we've got a global supply chain that feeds into these projects that have, specialized components like Vista switches and transformers and generators and bus duct and conductor, highly attuned air handling equipment and energy rejection equipment. And then thirdly, if I gave you the technical prowess and that, the ideation that goes around this, we do a lot of that, figuring out how we're going to bring somebody's product to market, how fast we can get that done, and how much certainty we can give them along the way.
Okay, that was my next question. Is what are some of the strengths that Clayco can provide to their? I assume speed with your size, right? Expertise as well as speed.
Yeah. If I started with probably the biggest thing, we work with and for a number of organizations that handle a very narrow segment or sliver of something, right?
Okay.
So let me give you a very specific example. We work with a lot of design firms that only do one portion of a design. We work with a lot of engineering firms that only do one small piece of a design. We work with a lot of developers that only do a very narrow product segment. Like they will only do this one thing, right? Well, the thing that makes us a little special is we chose to go the other direction and have a really wide aperture. And so when we're taking something on, we have the ability of doing most of it, right? So we take all of the critical path of the project, we can take all of the really risky pieces, and we just handle that risk internal. So we've got the ability of sourcing, like I said, the land and taking on the development piece. We've got the ability of doing the design phase services. We've got the ability of doing the build service. And what's really neat about that is when you're not transacting in a way that has it bouncing between organizations and you bring all of that in-house, you get a lot of synergy in between each of those steps. We're documenting a job one time as opposed to documenting it 8 or 9 or 10 times.
And that's speed and cost, right?
That's right. That's right. And the way we look at it too is where's the value transaction for the end client? There's a lot of those things that happen in the mechanics and frankly, a lot of soul deadening stuff that happens along the way that gives no value to that client. And so what we're trying to give them is outcome certainty. We're trying to give them a direct line of sight as to where everything stands. And we're trying to give them something that they just simply can't buy because elsewhere in the market, everybody has taken some sort of conservative stance, some kind of limited stance, or said, hey, you can only use what I'm doing for you for this very small thing. And we're trying to say you can use what we do for you for everything that you need for your business.
Right. One-stop shop.
Right.
Okay. Now, you have a lot going on right now. A lot of places don't, right? A lot of people are sort of shut down around the sidelines. You guys are growing and taking on more projects. And I imagine you're part of that is you're growing different aspects of your team at all times. What are you currently focusing on?
We are looking, right now, and I'll just be candid, the thing that limits our business right now is how many smart, ambitious, entrepreneurial-minded people that we can hire. So I am on the hunt for folks that can take complex subjects and organize them in ways that help set the pace and the production of a project. I'm looking for construction professionals, design professionals, engineering professionals, real estate professionals that can understand and think from a first principles view of what our clients are trying to achieve, and then help them formulate a solution for that grand challenge that they've got.
Excellent. And considering all the great stuff you guys have going on, that sounds like a really exciting place to be working. So I imagine that shouldn't be too hard, right, to find people in this marketplace?
It's been a lot of fun. If I gave you just a quick timeline, if we went back to, at the very tail end of the pandemic, so in 2021, or maybe even not all the way, three-quarters of the way through the pandemic, we showed up in Phoenix to help with the e-commerce and that distribution, really responding back to online commerce.
Right.
So there was probably 7 million feet of industrial e-commerce distribution space that we constructed in that time frame. We moved from that where we had 2 or 3 projects going at any given time, where we had 10 local employees and a whole bunch of travelers, to today we're just under 400 that are here locally. And we're responsible to deliver for our clients right now about $3.8 billion worth of commercial work.
Wow.
That, and I'm super proud of this. We just won the 3rd best places to work from the Phoenix Business Journal, in their large category. Yeah. So nice. Just all the way up to 999 employees, and we came in 3rd in that category. This last year, we had 16 interns out of local universities here working for us this last summer, and we plan to do even more of that. So very exciting times.
Excellent. That's impact not just on all the subs and the greater stuff, but your company directly, as well as you're working and training in new people. That's great.
Yeah.
Side question, how many of those people then try to stay on with you guys, and how many of those interns, for example, get trained specifically for the Clayco or a subsidiary?
We like to think, we can get them all. We end up with several that are juniors and want to explore once more before they go into their final decisions. We end up with a couple that either came to us in a design or a construction capacity that would like to explore the other side of that as well, and we offer that here. So it's a majority of them will have careers here that they're going to be just very excited about.
Excellent. Very cool. So that's a lot of impact here locally in Phoenix. How about the future? Do you have any big plans for the company first? Then we'll talk more about yourself. But for 2025 or the next few years, any particularly grand aims?
If it's forward facing, and like I think of the category of energy. So every time you hear data center, every time you hear AI, every time you hear compute, every time you hear a new manufacturing platform, which are now highly automated,
right?
Think of the energy footprint of that, and we're going to be involved in that space. So we've got grand plans to expand in our capabilities for energy. Also, being in the Sun Belt, being in the Southwest. Water is the same. So those are capabilities that we're building, and they're a part of our projects now, but I see them as being an even larger part of our project moving forward. There's a couple of examples. I fully expect us to have an even broader impact in our community moving forward. I say to our team, all the time, I said, with everything that we just accomplished in 2024, and it's extraordinary. I mean, it's 42 projects, 17 million feet, 525 megawatts of compute. Everything we just accomplished, I think our most transformative work is in front of us, and I am super excited about it.
Okay, excellent. Transition a little bit more into your own career. What's helped you the most, and what have you learned? What were some of the early lessons that really helped you achieve where you're at now? Yeah,
I came through school wanting to know how things worked. In fact, I was that kid that would take something apart just to see how it worked, and so I went into an engineering curriculum, and it worked so well for me to get a technical understanding of, forces and vectors and physics. And I went out into the world, and I recognized pretty quickly, young in my career, that wasn't all there was to learn, right? So I could have the right answer, but if I couldn't convince others to capitalize it, couldn't convince others to contract for it, couldn't convince others to sort of join the initiative, I wasn't going to get many of those solutions implemented. So
that's very insightful for you at that age. I didn't get it, right? I was just into doing my math, and I'd never really realized there were other people involved.
Yep. There's other people involved. I went back and got an MBA in night school, and it was one of the best decisions I made in terms of getting a broader understanding of the world.
Sure.
Also, night school is really neat in that if you want to see a whole bunch of hardworking, motivated people, like that's where you're going to find them.
Yeah, hustlers for sure.
Hustlers, because you start class about 7 and you get home about 11, and you got to go at it. And in that night school, I ran into folks from Honeywell and Intel and Boeing and Procter and Gamble and Charles Schwab. I mean, you want to hang out with really some of the organizations that are really moving forward and moving, that don't see headwinds, that actually are just driving ahead. I learned as much from my peers in that night school as anything, and I think that really helped me get a broader context of business.
Okay.
And it also instilled with me that you have to seek out, have that, we talked about the aperture, have that wide aperture that looks for the grand challenge in the world, and then figure out how you're going to solve for that challenge.
Right. As you said, first principles before you just really seeing the bigger picture.
Yep.
Environment is obviously very important. You surround yourself with a bunch of other people who are thinking big too. That goes a long way.
Yeah, and come from diverse backgrounds. That's my favorite part about what we're doing today. Is I've got friends here that have done an entire life's work in design, pure, and now I'm hooking them together with the physical nature of supply chain and getting them even stronger. I've got folks that have worked, frankly, very pragmatically in manufacturing facilities that work with, and now they're helping inform the design. We're working with predictive analysts that are doing our estimating and pre-construction services, and they're helping, inspire how to get to a better throughput in our commissioning process. And so taking those diverse backgrounds and stitching them together has been a ton of fun.
Oh, for sure. Very powerful. That's really where a lot of the big gains are, right? When you have people bringing insight from another field into one that are not just competent, but excited and motivated, right? And really enjoy it. I've had that myself, right? That's I transitioned out of science and got into. I spent a lot of time working on techniques and skills, and not myself, right? Or investing, which is what I do now. And it wasn't until I got around other people who were experts in their field, right? I was actually able to help them just like they were able to help me, just because you have a fresh pair of eyes type of thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of that, I didn't have a lot of investment background. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was following traditional advice and so forth. What's sort of your experience in that front? This is the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, so I'm going to talk about where you're going, any sort of legacy plans. What do you think of having multiple streams of income, things like that for augmenting your traditional retirement?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of things. Like for me, and also you're going to see a couple of themes here just based on things that are really important to me. I decided a long time ago that I wanted a tangible product for my life's work.
Okay.
Right. That's how I
totally understand that. Yep.
Work is I love that, being able to walk up and touch it and tell a story about it, or just interact with it.
Or other people can physically get value from it right away.
Yeah. So the things that you're going to see me gravitate towards are the commercial land investments or the real estate investments, where it's like that's a thing. It has these components to it. It's got this geometry. It's got this entitlement to it. And so that's a big part of it. The other thing for me is if I'm not investing in something that's solving somebody's problem, I just assume the value in the future is not going to be what it is in the present, right? So the hustle, I believe, and I know the minute that I'm feeling comfortable, I'm doing something wrong. So for me, it's for me to grow and for me to grow wealth and to create prosperity and create life certainty and honestly to give other people like a look at me and go, hey, I'm going to invest in Ryan. Like I have always got to be moving forward, right? And so if we did it this way last year, I've got to find a way to make it a little better. I've got to take more skill and devote it to the world, and I've got to transfer that skill to somebody else. And then we've got to make another principal investment so that we're on a continuous, scaling factor of moving forward.
Sure. That you're always growing as well as helping others.
Yep. And the other thing I'll put out there in terms of, that diversification that I've been talking about in terms of the product lines. Not only do they have to have a future tense, do they have to have, that forward facing, moment. I've also got to be the one that pushes us to the next one where I've got now partners and team members and fellow investors that I can move into the one we did last year. But I know that my job has got to be driving us into what's next, right?
Okay. That's a common theme, right? For particularly for innovators, right? Or people, creative types, maybe our favorite project is the next one.
Yeah. And trust me, I've got no problems coming back and helping sort out of some of the things we've done or created. I will give you one of my favorite things about having an integrated firm is there is not a problem where you can't get everybody into one room and go like it doesn't matter whose fault it is, we're going to fix it, right? Okay. And by the end of an hour, we can come up with something pretty extraordinary. Walk out of that room with a good plan on how we're going to go and tackle it.
Right. If you have the proper leadership there and setting everybody's mindset on towards the proper positive aim, right? Yes.
Yeah. If those are all separate entities and they all have separate P&L and all have separate, then you have a problem because it's now more important as whose fault it was, right? And
right.
And I love the inverse of that.
Right. For sure. And circling back to your comment about tangible products, right? Physical things that you can see and use and provide value to people. That's one of the reasons why I love real estate. I started doing that because I got my license. I wanted to flip and hold my own plexes here. And I realized once I started looking and stuff that things penciled better in other markets. And so I got rental properties and stuff in other markets and other states. But it's, first of all, I like to get my hands on it and work on it and create the value that way. But it's also, unlike stocks or other stuff that can go to zero, where property never goes to zero. It's always the land has value, the building has value and stuff. If it burns down, you have insurance, right? So there's protection of that sort of stuff. That's another reason why I like the physical tangible assets as well.
Yeah. This comes out of Silicon Valley, but you've heard the saying hardware is hard.
No.
And I think that's why that always has a residual value is because it is also very hard to work with. It's not that you can sit down for a weekend and program it out.
Right.
What you're going to do is years of investment from the moment.
Billions of dollars and years of building the chip factory up here.
That's right.
Right. Yep. Okay, excellent. Well, a reflection question for you, Ryan, if you don't, is another one. What do you wish you knew about building wealth and success earlier in your career?
I understood it from the other direction. I wish I had earlier just recognized the power of inertia, right, and put it more into motion earlier in my life. It's not that I didn't understand the future tense of value. It was more if I had made different investment or made a different investment profile earlier, I would have a greater ability to do even more ambitious things today.
Sure.
And so
that makes sense.
So that nature of, we'll call it compounding, like exponential compounding that exists. Like, understand it now, and I wish I could convey it better to folks that I work with. There's this sort of thought model, if you'll indulge me on this.
Sure, please.
If you just took like 100-year increments and you said 1769, right? The kitchen was separate from the residence because you'd burn it down all of the time, right? We used outhouses. I mean, we dug holes to put our excrement in. Like, we used animal labor. You know what I mean? Like, and if you go backwards in time, relatively everything looked like that. Okay. 1869, we have now, this is just a 100-year increment. We've bounced for 100 years, and now we've harnessed the engine. We've used, coal and fire to create steam. We've used steam to power locomotives. We have a transcontinental railroad that connects the country. That's just 100 years, right? And before that, we were burning down the kitchen with that same energy, and now we can go across the country. Now bounce another 100 years ahead, and we have now 1969. We've landed on the moon. Right. Those are 100-year chunks, but you can now see the exponential nature of ideas and community and communications and building on the principles of science and engineering, right? And I think about that all the time when we sort of zoom ahead and we go like, what's our 2069? And what's our role in what's going to happen in that next exponential moment? And I think of the same way about investing. Like, had I have been able to connect those dots, a younger version of me, I would have been much more ambitious about what I was trying to take on at a time. Right. But it spent less time listening to others about the way it had always been.
Sure. Oh, great line. Yes, for sure. And that's kind of a general theme. Usually when people are younger, they take bigger risks for the bigger returns. And then once you actually grow your wealth, then you don't want to lose it. So then you start taking a more conservative approach later, but you swing big and swing often earlier. That's, for sure. Thank you, Ryan. Those are a lot of great stuff there. So if people would like to connect with you and learn more about Clayco.
Yeah, you can call Clayco here locally. We're at 44th and Camelback. You can find our information on Google Maps or Apple Maps or on the internet. Just go to claycorp.com. We have in the Valley right now 23 job sites that you probably see on tower cranes or on fencing. You could stop in any one of those and visit with somebody in the office, and they can connect with you and get them pointed my direction. But yeah, lots of ways to get to me. LinkedIn included. Okay, excellent. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching or listening. Thank you, Ryan Abbott, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and your great projects and your insights into success and impact here in Phoenix. Awesome, Tim. Thank you.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.